have, ooh. Hey, whisper. He's fixing it. Go with you in a minute. I don't know if I'm yelling at you. Paranoid about it the whole time. Ready, set, awesome. Sounds a lot better, I think. Yeah. All right, sweet. Have any of you guys, maybe not some of the younger ones, but parents, y'all can join in too. Ever been in a relationship? Raise your hand. Relationship goers, maybe current relationship goers. Personally, I am extremely terrible at them. I'm not very good with relationships. And in a minute, you guys get to enjoy as we delve into some of my past relationships and some of the failures that I participated in. But if you don't learn anything from whatever is going to come out of my mouth tonight, learn this, that a relationship with God is just that. It's a relationship. And what that means is it doesn't start out perfect. And on your side, it may never reach perfection. And you will make mistakes. And you will have shortcomings and failures. But the whole point of a relationship is to move forward and to learn from the relationship. Now, as we go into these stories, well, those relationships have ended. Hopefully, with you and God, you will never, ever say that. But before we talk about that, let's then ask what these questions, these chairs are about. What we're going to do, everybody's going to play a little musical shit. No. Just kidding. I'm going to talk about this chair and the in chair. And we'll get going. This chair is, I need you to pay attention because at the end of the lesson, I'm going to maybe point people out. And if this chair describes you, you're going to ask you to come sit in it. This chair is for someone that's extremely young. They're too young to know right from wrong. They don't understand what they're doing or why they're doing it, so they're innocent. Maybe a baby or a toddler, someone that still hasn't learned yet. It's a fairly simple chair, all right? This chair on the end is for someone who is a Christian, but not just any Christian. They are ridiculously and extremely on fire for God. And they read the Bibles every day, a consistent and constant prayer life with God. When they don't do it, it hurts, their stomach. You feel that pit grow in their stomach. So the first girl I ever dated was in high school. Yeah, it's a late bloomer. We were still pretty young. She'd only been in one relationship before me that was of any significance. And she was my first girlfriend. We were extremely naive, just all about the unknown. We didn't know what we were doing. If we dated now, like if we met each other and were somewhat attracted to each other, I promise you it would last a week and a half. We dated for 2.5 years. And all throughout high school. And that's really not like an awesome relationship. It was just like we didn't really know what breaking up was. Our relationship consisted of a lot of things. Some good, some bad. We were, like I said, we were incredibly ignorant. We were learning with each other. We were learning each other. We made plenty of mistakes. We were curious. Dangerously curious, probably. And I'm sure you might have relationships where you're dangerously curious. Stray away from those. It's just a whole lot safer. It's not a great place to be. can make mistakes that you cannot change. The relationship revolved around a lack of knowledge. And I think most first relationships do. And as you first get into relationships, and as you first start to learn someone new, someone that's not you, someone that has similar interests but is a completely different human being than you. I was from, not necessarily the direct South, but North Carolina. She was from the city of New York. So we were not the same person. She's a good girl, though. I need you to remember that our first relationship just had no knowledge. Our second, I'm going to regret this. Second relationship was much shorter. Much shorter. Starting to learn a little bit. But the problem with this relationship was it was incredibly fast. We had both just gotten out of an extremely long relationship. It was the first relationship we'd ever been in, either of us. I don't want to say that either of us were rebounding with each other, but it only been about 2 months since girl one, for both of us, except hers was a guy. It definitely lacked wisdom. We had gained knowledge. I mean, that's all you can gain in a rough, hard relationship that lasts 2 years. You gain knowledge. But in my second relationship, we definitely lacked wisdom. It was fast and it was physical. And it had a lot of fake love. Love that we thought was real. And it's really hard to be in a relationship that you think is filled with love when it's completely based off of something that has no love in it alone. After I dated her, I didn't date another girl for over a year. We dated most of that summer because we broke up at the end of my senior year in high school. And so for most of the summer, me and girl 2 dated. And after we broke up, and it was like the first week of our freshman year in college, in a relationship that is fast and physical and fake will not prove the test of distance. Because you're not there for the right reasons. And as I've learned from not knowing anything, still pretty much not knowing anything, but not knowing how to use what little I know, I sit here in front of you and tell you I'm no relationship guru. Trust me. And in that year where I didn't date anyone, I was a complete and utter moron. There were multiple girls that I would talk to at the same time. Probably used girls, probably got used. There were no true relationships. It was physical in nature. There was no depth to my life at that point. I didn't know what I needed from a girl. I didn't know what I needed to give a girl. I didn't know what I had to offer. I didn't know what I needed to be offered. I didn't know that God was the main thing you base a relationship off of to make it succeed. I made worldly things and worldly desires my God for a year. I've been told that I say good prayers, that I word them well. I've been told that before that year. During that year, I lost my ability to speak to God. They all felt fake and dry. None of it felt real. Like I was praying to somebody that didn't care because when I prayed, I just didn't care. And it's so easy to put on a fake look. It's so easy to come home from school and everybody loves you and asks you how you're doing. It was a rough year. The first fall semester, I came home with a .47 GPA. It's probably historically low for free hardening. It's not something I'm proud of. And it has hindered me ever since. And it's been hard to work back up. And Lord willing, for the first time in 2 years, I'll have my scholarships back at the end of this semester. My third relationship was with an incredible girl. She is still really cool. I'm not sorry that it didn't work out, but I do not wish any ill on her. Because the first relationship was a lack of knowledge. The second was a lack of wisdom. The third was a lack of care, because I was someone that had been corrupted by the Lord. When I went to school, she still lived here, close to here. And we desperately tried to communicate, or she did. She would text me every now and then. She wrote me a letter. The first letter she wrote me, it took me a week and a half to respond to. I promised her I would write it the day I got it. She would text me, I would text her, and in the next text another girl. We wanted to call once a day. We barely called once a week. And that was completely my fault. Skype was a really cool invention. Please Skype twice. I was too busy. I didn't know what it needed to be in a true, nurturing, caring relationship. I didn't give her the care she deserved because I didn't know how to. I just didn't want to. The second chair is someone who is old enough to know right from wrong, but hasn't made a decision to follow Christ. They don't know God. They have no knowledge of what He can do in their life. This chair next to me is someone who has made a decision, and maybe once for a while when they became a Christian, maybe for a while at least, they sat in this chair and were on fire, but have slowly forgotten. Maybe it's because they've been in church for too long. Maybe they've gotten used to it. Maybe they're going through the motions. Maybe it's routine to them. But for some reason, they no longer feel it, and they're ice cold for Jesus. They lack wisdom to use and to know how to trust and obey God. The chair I'm currently sitting in is someone who knows everything they need to know. They don't know everything about the Bible. They don't know everything about God. They never will. But they know what it takes. And they just don't care. I cannot stand in front of you and point out at 5 people and ask them to pick a chair. Because first off, most of us would lie. And I can't ask you to take a chair when I can't even take it. This weekend has been about rebelling against something that literally will kill you. Not one of us that I've seen here, maybe a few, not one of us belong in that chair. But it's only one of 2 that'll go the distance. These 3 middle chairs don't have a chance. You're either innocent and extremely unfortunate, or you give everything you've got to God. Matthew 22, verse 34. When the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered together. And one of them, a lawyer, asked him a question to test him. Teacher, which is the great commandment in the law? And he said to him, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment, and the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depend all the law and all the prophets. So first and foremost, love God. With every dollar you ever make, love God. However you use it. If it's Caesar's because you have to pay your taxes, give it to Caesar proud. If it's God because you have to give back to God because you just have nothing else to give it back to God with joy. And if it's left over, use it for the kingdom. There's nothing wrong with having a nice house unless you cannot use that house for God. There's nothing wrong with having a 72-inch screen TV, but you better use that TV to have some awesome Super Bowl party that you can talk to lost people with. Everything you have in your house, everything you ever use, everything you ever buy, make sure you can find use for it in the kingdom. It would be stupid to sit in front of you and tell you that stuff is inherently evil. Being lazy with your stuff is wicked.
That's right.
Everything we do has potential to change someone's outcome. To take someone from here to here. To see someone that has nowhere left to go. Someone that has no care in their heart. Someone that feels like they cannot even talk to God and put them in fire. The story of Baal and the prophets, where Elijah calls down fire to prove God's existence, is awesome for the Old Testament. You know what it looks like in the New Testament? Christians on fire walking around showing all these false prophets who God is. And we have that potential. With every step you take after this weekend,